Okay, so Airtable just launched a brand new feature, which is going to be an absolute game changer for anyone working with Airtable at the moment. So I'm going to go over what this feature is and why exactly it's going to make working with other people inside of Airtable so much easier. So let's get into it. Friends, welcome back. So Airtable has done it again. After shipping amazing features all year long like scripts, automations, and a whole bunch of other things, they have released one final massive feature for the year that's going to be an absolute game changer when it comes to collaborating with others inside of Airtable, and that feature is called Interface Designer. So the Airtable Interface Designer will allow you to turn your Airtable bases into dashboards that your team members can view and control, making it a lot easier for people who are unfamiliar with Airtable to make changes to records without breaking things. So in the past, if you wanted to work with someone inside of your Airtable base, you would have to share your entire base with them as a collaborator, and they could then jump in and then make changes to records. So this is typically not an issue for anyone who is already familiar with Airtable, but if you are working with someone who is not familiar with how Airtable works, it can be quite overwhelming. So one of the key challenges that I have found that people new to Airtable have is that there's just a lot going on inside of Airtable. You've got a whole bunch of different tables, you've got different records, you've got different field types, and getting familiar with it can seem a little bit overwhelming at the beginning. And for me as a base owner, one of the downsides of working with collaborators sometimes is that I would also be sharing information with them that I might not necessarily want them to have access to. And those are exactly the issues that Airtable has addressed with Interface Designer. So at a high level, the way that it works is that you as the base owner can turn your Airtable tables into individual dashboards and only display information that you feel your collaborators need access to, and you can make those fields both viewable or editable. So this is going to be an absolute game-changing feature for so many businesses currently using Airtable, and today I want to go through the process of setting up my first dashboard in an example table that I've got inside of Airtable to show you what the process is like of getting started. Okay, so this is the table that I'm going to be working with. It is an Airtable base that I actually found online that has a list of all of the different restaurants in Ottawa, Ontario. So as you can see in the top left corner, you've got an interface link. So if we just click on that, it will take you to a brand new dashboard where you'll be able to set up your different interfaces. So I'm going to start off by creating a new one, and I am just going to call this one here Review Restaurants. So what happens is as soon as you've created this particular interface, you can start by adding a description if you want, or you can just dive straight into designing your interface. Now there are a whole bunch of different interfaces that you can create. So you first of all have your record view, which I think will be really useful for setting up views if you want your team members to approve records. Then you've got your dashboard, which is kind of like a high level overview of all of the different things that are happening inside of your base. And then you can have things like record summaries, or you can just start from scratch. So in this particular example, what I want to do is I want to set up an interface that will allow my collaborators to approve restaurants that are currently in our backlog. So I'm just going to click on record review, then I'm going to click next, and the next thing that we want to do is we want to select our table that holds all of the information. So in our case, we've got the restaurants table, and now what you can do is you can start doing things like applying filters or sort functions. So the filter that I want to apply is I only want records to appear in here if they are currently in review. So the way that I do that is I click on filter, I add a condition, and then I scroll down to the status field, and then from there I can sort out what statuses I want to allow. So the only ones that I'm looking for here is the needs review. Now, as soon as that is done, I can close that, and what Airtable will do is will automatically filter out all of the different records that are currently in the needs review state. So as soon as that is done, I'm going to click on next, and it then allows me to basically collect whatever information I want to that particular record. So this again is a prime example of the type of information that you might not want to display for your collaborators, for example, phone numbers or email addresses. So you can just go through this list here and turn on the fields that you want them to see, and you can leave the ones that you don't want them to see off. So as soon as that is done, you give it a name. So I'm going to call this in review. and then I'm going to click on the finish button. So what's going to happen now is it's going to take you straight there, and you can now basically see the interface that we designed in that initial setup step. So what you can do now is you can actually start making changes to the layout. So if you want to move certain fields up, you can just jump in here and move it to the top. If you want to move other fields down, so let's say this takeout delivery field, we'll put that right to the bottom, you can just drop it there. So there is a certain level of flexibility that you'll have when it comes to designing your interface. Now, one thing that is going to be really useful if you are working with collaborators is you might want your collaborators to actually edit certain fields. So let's say, for example, you allow your collaborators to approve these restaurants. Then what you can do is you can click on the field that you want to allow them to change, and then you can just change it from view only to editable. Now, if you want to see how it works, you can just simply click on the preview button in the top left corner, and it will actually show you that certain fields can't be changed, but the status field can be changed. And so again, this is going to be an absolute game changer. Now, if you want to add additional elements to this page, you can just click on here and then you can just start dragging in certain elements. So let's say, for example, I want to display a number of the amount of records that still need to be reviewed. So what you can do here is, again, select the source that holds all of the information. Then again, if you want to apply filters, you can do that. So again, what we want to do is we want to display the number of restaurants that are still in review. So in this case, we're going to go to status is needs review, and then you'll see how that automatically updates, and then we can just go through the process of customizing it. So I'm going to change this field to in review, and I'm going to change the color to light blue. And so now when you jump in here, you can just see what happens. If someone approves it, it changes it to 81 and it removes it from that list. Now, if you want to create an overall dashboard, what you can do is you can just click on the hamburger icon in the top left corner, click on overview, and it will take you right back. Now, if you want to add a new one, you have to click out of preview mode, and then from there you can just click on create new. Now, this will take you right back to where you were before, and you'll see here we've got the dashboard interface. So we're just going to start off with that, and then again you link it to your table, and then you can start working on your dashboard. So one of the things that I really like about this is you can not just link it to one particular table. So let's say, for example, you have a second table that you want to use data from. You can just click into here and switch the source of the information to other tables that you might be using. And that is a really great way to basically pull in all of the information that you might have in one base into one particular view. And so then again, this is a really great example of something you can potentially share with investors if you want to give them access to this type of stuff. If you want to build your own little analytics dashboard, then this is a perfect way to do that as well. In the past, I used the Airtable apps to display certain information and certain analytics, but now I'm going to shift all of that over from Airtable apps to this interface designer. And then as soon as you're done with setting up your different views, your different tables, then all you need to do is hit the publish button, and you can then just select what changes you want to publish, and then you can start inviting your collaborators to your base. Now again, before you share access to a particular base with a collaborator, you can again give them all of the access rights that you'd be familiar with if you have worked inside of Airtable with a collaborator before. So you've got read-only, commenter, editor, creator, all those types of things. And so you can just go ahead, invite them, send the email, and that will then start the process of inviting new collaborators to your base. And then when your collaborator gets the email that they have been invited to your interface, all they need to do is accept it, and they'll then have access to all of the different interfaces that you've created. So in this case, if I want to go and check out the in review interface, then I can just jump in there, and now as a collaborator under a different account, I can start making changes. And so this is just a really, really great way to work with other people on your projects. And so that is a high-level overview of how Interface Designer works. I absolutely love it. It was super easy to get familiar with, and I'm really excited about using it. And then one last thing before I leave. So this particular tool is designed for internal teams. So in case you run something like a marketplace like I do with the Unicorn Factory, and you're now thinking about potentially inviting all of those customers into your Airtable Interface Designer, please keep in mind that if you want to allow them to edit data, you are going to have to pay for them as an editor, which means noticed that depending on what plan you're on, it could be up to $24 a month. So I think primarily this particular use case right now caters to teams and their internal workflows, but hopefully we'll see some changes in the future where you can potentially onboard a lot of people and use Airtable Interface Designer as user accounts. So usually at this point, I also have a whole bunch of features that I'd like to add to my wish list for future iterations. But to be completely honest with you, this kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm really happy with what this first iteration has. It really allows me to solve some key use cases that haven't been super easy to solve. And so the more I play around with it, the more likely I am to find little things that can be done. But overall, I'd say that this is an incredibly great feature to have to my disposal, and I just want to make a big shout out to Airtable for all the good work that they've done this year. That's it for me from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it valuable, please smash the like button. Other than that, I'll see you back here for the next one.